Last time on the Empire's Edge. All right, take our sticky keg and let's go for an adventure.
There's multiple splits in the tunnelway just ahead.
I don't trust anything that looks this magically good.
So it's the ribcage of someone like 120 feet tall?
I think we should go to the head, see if there's anything over there.
What's the stone stairs made out of?
You recognize it right off as being black tourmaline.
Wasn't that what the black stairs were made out of?
You do recognize that the sigils that are in there are the arcana to cast a teleport spell.
So that's where the black stair goes.
As you're scanning, just back up the stairs. From the bottom heading toward the top, it reads, "Welcome, traveler. Bow your head. Approach. Marvel in sanctity of Vartan Grave." So, Boris, make a religion check. I guess anyone can make a religion check. I always figure Boris being the religious type.
Specific like.
I rolled a good number.
Oh, yeah?
I'm looking for religion, though. I'm not used to finding it on this page. 19.
Nice.
12.
Beats my 18.
Yeah!
Again, tell us
tell us
about
about church, farm
religion,
boy.
farm boy.
Well, it's actually like this. The DC on this, it is a myth that you have all heard.
Oh.
Because the DC was actually 12. So
Oh, me too.
Zelen just caught it. And it is a story. Again, it's not really part of the Church of Uko. You're not sure who it's attributed to or ascribed to, but you have suspected, Boris, that it could be part of the rudiments of your faith because of what it contains. That in this, it talks about the original tree that gave life to the 7 Adlai trees, and each one was guarded by a colossal giant. And those 7 names were Vitin, Ultine, Laztine, Odtine, Illatine, Rontine, and Vartine. And that's the name that's on this. It said Vartine Grav.
So I want to go back up to the top now, and I want to really examine the ground. Is this actually petrified?
You were detecting magic at the altar, weren't you?
Yeah, I want to check
That's
the
why
altar
we turned
too.
around,
I
yeah.
want to do all sorts of things. So, I want it all. I want to detect magic at the altar.
There is no magic on the altar.
And none of the little things that are up there are
That is
magically
correct.
inclined?
That is correct.
So then I want to scrape away and I want to know if underneath whatever is on this is actually petrified tree. Remember when you had your knighting and it turned out you were standing on
a chunk of
right?
Adlai,
Could we actually be inside or part of a fallen Adlai, and that's why this
That'd be
giant is
pretty
in here?
intense.
So you're doing nature checks, I would think, to look at the stuff to see if it fits anything.
No, I actually am not.
Okay.
I'm doing either perception or survival checks.
How do you figure?
Yeah. How
Because they're much higher.
okay, so go ahead and do a nature check.
I'll do a nature too with all the probing that she's done.
Yeah, what the heck?
15.
23.
21, which I'm actually feeling quite good about because
Nice.
that's a nat 19.
Yeah.
You should.
So as you're talking about this, and Zelen, you're very excited, saying, "Could it be we're in part of an Adlai, or you're near the base of another root ball of one or something?" That as you're examining the stone and everything around here, it doesn't fit that same texturing of where that tree had fallen, where you believe that stone was like actually part of the bark of a fallen petrified Adlai, where Boris was knighted way back in
Weldon?
no
Warland.
So way back in Warland.
Wow. So, okay, wait a minute. Let me just think this through.
So you don't think you're inside the nave of an Adlai?
Yeah, but then this giant was assigned to protect the Adlai,
Well, protect a tree.
protect a
Not
tree.
necessarily an Adlai.
Well, I thought the
myth is that it's one of like the 7 original trees that gave birth to all the other Adlai trees.
right. So it was
There's something bigger than an Adlai?
In myth,
Older, at least.
This was
Oh, man.
this being was assigned to protect one of the original Adlaids. It would appear that he was killed.
Now, here's the
Because
question.
he had that. It looked to me like somebody stabbed him in the heart.
Well, now what I'm wondering though is, are we in the part that got teleported, or is the part that's back by Gryan the part that got teleported?
What?
So we know. So the black
it's
stair.
a portal.
Yeah,
So-
so you would figure, Jacob,
Yeah,
that
it's a doorway.
Back
What?
when the stairs, back where you guys actually had battled, was that Olaf Lindquist? That when you had fought him,
Battled.
when you killed him.
Yeah.
That at the top of that stair, that was inside a building. You can imagine at this point that there would have been an archway with probably a black tourmaline slab through it. And when it was functional and working, you could walk from that place up these stairs to this place, and then presumably walk back through it. It's stairs made out of the same stone, but it was actually that place was a portal leading to this place.
Gotcha.
I want to go examine the giant's arms and leg bones. I want to see if I can tell if potentially he was tied up when he died.
His arms are at his sides, so no.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would have taken a little bit of time if you guys want to do something else, just to find where they are among the rocks and the stones and all the ferns and things.
Okay,
that are
let's
outside you.
have a serious discussion, though. This is probably going to have to become our base camp.
Yeah.
If we're staying here for a while, it definitely feels like the safest spot.
Well, we might be here permanently, is my point.
I don't like that mindset. I refuse.
Okay.
This is our home away from home.
Away from home.
I wonder if we can figure out how to make the transporter thing work again.
Okay, that would probably take quite some time, assuming any of us are capable of casting teleport.
Well, we can start growing a coniferous tree and seeing if I can find one big enough that I can zoom into.
Teleport
But
through
my
it.
point is, we're going to have to be here a while.
What part did you say was sanctified? Inside the bones, right?
The altar.
Yeah, around the altar.
Around the altar. So if we have to make this home base, if we could make home base as close to the sanctified part as possible, that seems like the safest
The
place.
rib cage makes the most sense because it's already, reasonably shelter-like. We just need to start, actually defining a structure a little more completely.
Yeah, the big open spot would be down like toward the abdomen of the rib cage.
Sure. That we need to, verify source of water, that it isn't just like a temporary thing. Food sources, potential, both plant and animal food sources. Flammable supplies, if things can be cultivated proper, because we don't have a way out yet. There's other points of ingress and egress in this cavern.
I understand prepping for longevity, but it feels like we're giving up the goat. If we're gonna put that much work into this, I feel like we haven't even explored past this area to know if we could live here for months only to find out if we'd only gone 100 feet further that way, we would have found the door out of here.
Yeah, but we need supplies first.
Do we?
We're hundreds of feet underground.
Potentially, that you have enough rations to last you, 4 more days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why
like
don't I cast plant growth, and I'll have the plants grow around more thickly around the rib cage, so we can make it kind of like tent-like, kind of,
It's definitely a start. But I do think we're going to be here a while. We need to prep like we're going to be here a while. You're welcome to go scouting and start seeing if tunnels was like, oh, yeah, this one's just a straight shot up to the surface. We just need to climb up a chimney a bit. Yeah. Or it's all of these are going down, some just into a ravine.
Do you have anything that you can send to scout for you?
I can cast Primeval, not Primeval, Bestial Spirit. I can summon things that can fly.
Can they communicate?
That is a fantastic question. It's friendly to you and your companions. In combat, shares your initiative. Blah, blah, blah. Looks like no.
They can't communicate?
No, it obeys my command. It obeys verbal commands that you issue. If you don't issue any commands, it takes no action otherwise.
Okay, well, so I'll cast plant growth in order to form a more completely encased space around this rib cage, part of this rib cage. So we have a room we can go into. It can protect us from the rain that never happens here. But at least it can make a space that we can't feel like things can come at us from any direction while we're sleeping, kind of thing.
Okay. Once you do the plant growth, how long does that last, or is it a
let's see.
Like a
The
permanent
spell
thing?
channels vitality into plants, granting either immediate or long-term benefits.
Okay.
If I cast the spell over 8 hours, I enrich the land. All plants in a half-mile radius centered on a point within range become enriched for a year.
Wow.
What's the duration?
Instantaneous.
So yeah, it's permanent. It can't even be dispelled.
Neat. That's really cool. Well,
Okay.
and you would like note right off, Jacob, as you're looking at all the life that was in this place, and I probably should have made a mention of this before, that there was way too much life stuff underground right here. There's way too much living stuff, organisms in a cave like this. You wouldn't think there's enough to support it unless that was actually a fleshy being. And all of the flesh that used to be part of that giant, that 100
Oh, they've just
foot tall,
picked it clean.
right, over
Well,
eons,
it's decayed
potentially.
into soil.
Yeah,
True.
that over eons, and the protein of these living things and stuff that was on his person are what initiated this life, this biome.
I know we vaguely touched on it before, but I don't remember what the outcome was of the conversation. What kind of tree does her staff turn into if she were to plant it?
I thought she could. Did you see it with a birch? Did you just pick that? I'm not recalling.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me
I'm
find
wondering
out.
if
It just says tree.
Yeah, you
Like,
probably
if-
made a note.
If she can make a tree that's large enough for me to step into, I could absolutely get out of here and get some help. Assuming, because I can travel miles. So if we're half a mile underground, I could definitely get back to the surface.
Okay, that's an interesting idea. Let me see what my staff of the woodland does. You choose to. Oh, that's a wall. Hold on.
I can't step into walls. Not nearly as effectively, though.
Hold, please.
I step at the wall.
Staff the woodlands. 10 charges.
You're looking at the last paragraph. You should look at the last paragraph. That's
You can use an action to plant one end of the staff in fertile earth and expend 1 charge to transform the staff into a healthy tree. The tree is 60 feet tall, has a 5-foot diameter trunk, branches
huge.
spread out 20-foot radius. Appears ordinary, radiates a faint aura of transmutation magic, will match Boris's eyes. I like it. Touching the tree and using another action to speak, you return the staff to its normal form. Any creature in the tree falls when it reverts to a staff.
I'm trying to recall, because we had this conversation before, I think I'd said you could pick the kind of tree you wanted it to be. I have a vague memory of saying something like that.
Yeah, I don't think
So
we've
many
used.
episodes
I don't think
ago.
we've used this ability yet.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Didn't
we haven't
come
done
up quite
much
that way.
from the Staff of the Woodland. I think it's mostly been Pass Without Trace and Wall of Thorns.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you pick it once, or do you pick it when you create the tree?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It just says
The text
tree.
just says tree, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I would think that you could just choose a tree, any
kind of tree I wanted.
you've known
we can
or
at least
seen.
try.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right. So
I need it to be carnivorous, I think.
Yeah, coniferous tree.
Yeah, coniferous, not carnivorous.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever I said, but not that.
I am planting my staff and creating a tree.
Okay, yeah.
Tree is
Yeah.
there.
I'll use my armor and step into it. What happens?
So first, I guess it displaces like the ferns and things that are right there. I'm just trying to imagine the shock that we to suddenly see this thing underground like this.
The wildlife is absolutely terrified of us already.
Okay, so let me just consider what's here and roll a percentage. Hang on. Where's the other one? There we go. All right, so Jacob, as you are like using that armor to step into it, you find yourself able to step into the tree, but it's as though you're shielded, that there's something about this and this location, or this something involving the way that it's planted in this stone that's right here.
Not a true tree.
Yeah, and the fact that maybe it's not just that it isn't that living tree, that things are conspiring against you, that though you could step into it, you're finding yourself unable to locate where other trees are around you.
Yeah, Matt. I wanted that to work. All right. Do I feel like I can step back out?
Yes, you
I
do.
hope so.
Yes, you do.
That would have sucked. Yeah,
Congrats, you are now
now.
fused to the staff. Roll a new character.
And she just,
You get to play a cave cricket.
yeah, while I'm in there, Zelen just goes, "This will be funny," and just releases the tree and puts it back in his staff. Yeah, I step back out and I share my unfortunate findings with the party.
All right. So, how about if I call some sprites? I can call 8 of them. We can send them in different directions and have them explore. Have them turn themselves invisible, so whatever is out there, and then they
Is
can.
invisibility one of the things they can cast?
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice. And they can also turn themselves into something. What has the best vision for down here, like bats, like you turn Jast into?
That if I cast pixies,
Oh, what did you say?
sprites.
Oh, no, I figured you meant pixies.
I mean,
thought
I'm
you
down
just,
for sodas.
right? Can I get
Anybody
a Sprite
have amaretto?
cranberry?
Yeah, right. We've got whatever's in Cave Fishers.
Oh, this is
Oh,
true.
there we go.
Sprite cranberry.
All right, now I need to stop for a drink. Okay, so or yes, or I could certainly cast the fairies instead.
The sprites don't have dark vision, so I hope pixies do.
That's fine. Well, if not, they can at least polymorph into something that does.
Yeah.
So if they cast polymorph and invisibility on themselves, they can just be invisible dire bats flying around until they find where they need to be.
They look around at how much this place sucks to be down here. They form a circle and stab each other in the back.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right. And disappear themselves out of
Actually,
here.
kind of a beautiful space.
Morbid.
though.
Okay.
I'm not seeing dark vision on them either. So yeah, they're probably shapeshiftifying themselves.
Yeah.
So worth doing. Now.
Yeah,
while-
because then at least we can explore 8 directions at once.
Yeah. So aside from the opening that we came into and the one that leads to a dead end, are there any other ways out of this hole?
And
like
also aside from the fissures that just drop.
Yeah, so like doing a perimeter and like taking note of
Okay,
the
so
surroundings.
that would probably, so they're doing that or you're doing that too, Jacob, because your skill sets are way better than a bat at its speed echolocating. So.
I know this is a purely audio medium, but I really want to draw attention to the sheet of paper that was just put down on the table because that is beautiful. Did you work this? It's an Excel spreadsheet that is just all of like these pixies like set out that she can keep track of which one has done what, however many times a day.
Yeah, it's really, really detailed.
It is fantastic. I absolutely adore that. That is amazing.
You're welcome.
Good job. All right, yeah. Where were we? Sorry.
Is Jacob doing these searches, or are you just communicating that to Zelen for the pixies?
I think if we can send them out of this area, if they can find some things, but I think I still want to get eyes on the entire surrounding, doing a hike around the whole perimeter of this cavern that we're in.
Okay, so we'll say that they're happening simultaneously, and we'll address Jacob's first. That as you're making your investigations, inquiries, searching, roll those as your survival skill.
Okay. All right. Not the best. How's a 15?
Yeah, that's still good for a number of things in here. So you note as you're walking around the outside of this that, around the perimeter, that again, it's a very uneven space, but there must have been massive vines that grew on this at some point. And when they were dying, their shelf funguses grew up, and those shelf funguses maintain their integrity, and they're still stuck to the walls all over the place, though themselves are dead. And the vines themselves have pretty much disintegrated, but you can see the tracks and trails where they used to be along the perimeter walls. But you do know that shelf fungus can burn, and there would be just piles and piles of the stuff. So if you went out to an area of wall and started knocking the stuff down,
You got a fuel supply. That's good.
and
True, yeah.
yeah, so just bundle them into your cape or something like that, and bring them back. You could have enough to cook from, and to do all that sort of stuff. So we'll just assume that you've brought back a batch of them. You guys could start a campfire if you'd wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about casting spider climb on myself so I can climb up some of these walls and see what's above us, see if there's any openings that we need to be concerned about. Any concerns about me doing that?
I think so.
No. So
All
what's the duration? Like, it was like crazy, like hours,
I think an hour
or was it
or minutes.
10
something like
minutes?
that.
Yeah.
It
My brain
is
goes old school.
concentration up to 1 hour.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah. So long time with that. And
So I've got my pixies are out exploring all the eight different areas. They've changed themselves into bats so that they can see and come back to describe to me what they have seen and what they have found. And I've cast spider climb on myself so I can scurry up and down the walls and check out some other areas.
Okay, good. So let's say that as everyone rendezvous, what's going to be a couple of hours from right now. There's just so much area to cover.
Devoting my time to actually preparing where, the base camp.
Okay.
Organizing supplies, leveling stuff out, clearing out ferns.
How do we find out if this water is potable?
Potable. If there's fish in it, is a good general rule. Is there fish in it?
I guess,
Okay,
you can cast light on a stone, drop it in there. We can also find out just how deep it is, too.
I did that by looking at it
Oh.
Yeah. So
because I'm really good at seeing in the dark now.
Yeah.
so here's stuff you guys found
Like
out.
6 feet deep at the deepest.
Yeah, through that time, is that Jacob, you pass a number of different fissures that a person could just like step into and just drop. But as you're examining, you must have a torch with you, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
As you're moving around, even though it is still again like starlight in this whole place. So, but like for an examination, that most of them you found just go down like 10, 12 feet, something like that. Air might still move there. but you have passed a number of openings that are sometimes in the floor, sometimes in the walls, that go back, 10, 12 feet and look like they keep going. So that things could come from various directions. And you're making a mental note as to where these things are. That by the end of the day, call it the rest of this day before you guys make camp, that you have easily found 4 places where a person could worm themselves into a hole in a wall or a crack or something, and go in a direction. And who knows just how far that would go.
Okay.
And how many of your alarm things do you have?
Up to 7.
Okay.
And at a certain point, you come back around in the direction of the pool, and you're on the far side of it, coming around, and way on the other side of where the skeleton is, the giant. And yeah, 4 acres, a little more, you think is a pretty good estimation of the total size of this thing. And it looks like it is replete with fish. And you get close to them, they seem to be blind. But they also, in any environment like this, most typically, there's always a lack of food supply. So you don't think they'd be that difficult to catch because they're not really guarded. They hit on and bite anything. You've also found a couple of snake skins. You've gone around the whole area of it too. Through some of these gaps you found, these different fishes you could climb through or walk into, there's definitely air moving. Very, very, like a breeze in your face that's moving. But usually the ones that are doing that are the ones that are going further down, that you actually can't find anything that's going up.
Okay.
And then at a certain point, you're probably like, okay, I'm feeling about done. Acres. You're guessing this whole thing. Yeah, like I think I mentioned like 40 acres. We're talking like 30 football fields. It's a huge, huge space.
Okay. Well,
and all uneven, all around it.
I'll bring that information back. And for the most part, is it like, as I'm walking around the perimeter, it's just the ground leads directly to stone, or there are points where like it looks like it just like a drop off, or like it's careful about your footing, otherwise you might fall down into this crevice and slide down for who knows how long.
It's very much like that you have to watch your footing just the entire time. That if you started just running like point A to point B, just flat heading across it, you'd probably break a leg, fall up your waist, or fall in even deeper through some of these areas. Now, there's large stretches that are, solid rock or have this earth. Most of those are getting closer around to where the giant skeleton itself is, but it's all over the place pretty much.
Okay, and I'll bring that information back and let everyone else know. I guess if I'm are your pixies have already head out, or maybe I can give them like directions, just saying like, here's what I found, like
they're
good
invisible,
pathways to
didn't you
go.
say?
They're bats.
Oh, they turned to bats, right?
Volcano Los Dos. Invisible bats.
And so they're already exploring different areas.
Okay. So you might have to even be aware of a bat flying around. And apart from the bats that are these pixies, there's no other bats you've seen flying down in here. That the largest thing you've probably seen has been the fish, and the snake skin would imply that there's not a huge, but just a very normal sized snakes down here too.
Okay.
So when those things come back, Zelen, in a couple of hours, all the pixies,
they all come back?
They all come back. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That they've noted flying in various directions. That they've seen easily 6 places that looks like you could get out of this, beyond the one massive way in that you guys came in through. But then there are so many little cracks and chasms that it'd be difficult to know if they have absolutely all of them, because they're just like fissures on the floor, and they'd fly into some of these very, very cautiously, and they go in for 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, and then just stop. There's no more to the actual fissure itself. So they're sure there are numerous ways in and out, but they think the ones that actually carry air and a being could go through, it looks to be about a half dozen of them.
Okay.
So you climbing up on the walls, you do note that the luminous material, some of it is some kind of a luminous lichen of some sort, and some of them are actually bugs that are up on the ceiling itself. And you go up, or you could go up above 200 feet. I mean, you're so far above as you're spider climbing, but it just is all natural cavern, just natural rock.
Okay.
Boris, you have the camp all set.
Yeah. So then once it's set and clear, if there's loose stone, doesn't seem like it, but if there are things I can move that way, even like I'm considering going so far as small bones, trying to create like a barrier around the campsite, starting to fortify it.
Yeah, you have two options. One would be like all the phalanges that are fairly separated from each other. You could just take those from the feet and the hands and start stacking those things up to make a wall. But a lot of these different outcroppings of rock that have had these ferns and things going into it, generations of them for millennia potentially, they have stratified the rock and it's fractured along that. So you'll find an area where, a rock that would be like barrel size or cart size, that there's fractures on the top that you could lift off pieces that might be anywhere from like 50 to maybe even 100 pounds that you could move. It would take a lot of them, but would actually be.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start on it with the stones.
Yeah, they're very stratified.
I don't think we
so
should
they
mess with the
stack very
giants.
well.
That seems wrong.
I agree. If it's between me living and me not living, I'll mess with the bones.
So he's already dead. He's not using them anymore.
And you're putting this like from the floating ribs, the small ribs across, building a wall up across would be like separating the rib cage from the rest of the abdomen. Is that the end where you're putting it?
That does seem to be the better campsite, that the actual kind of sleeping area would be the rib cage, and potentially food prep and storage.
Okay.
Then the area of, the abdomen being kind of further prep, like smoking fish, making water containers out of snakes or lizards or whatever we can.
Yeah.
And then while you're also making up the campsite, you could use the area of the altar like as a campfire site over there too, if you don't want to make it smoky and underneath the in the rib cage.
Well, I don't think we'd put the fire under the rib cage.
Okay. Then over.
Well,
we make the skull airtight and just turn that into a giant smoker.
There's a
wow.
Yeah.
You actually just go in through where the spinal column goes up into the skull.
Yeah, right.
And you have like this
Just live in there.
room inside there. Start rolling it around wherever you guys want to go.
Exactly.
But you do note that
I've heard worse ideas.
on top of the altar, Boris, that there are 7 jars that are lidded with not tight sealing lids that are still intact. It looks like a lot of the ceramic jars have succumbed and have broken up. These look like they were stone jars.
Okay.
Like somehow they actually formed the stone to make the jar that they wanted, and they've survived. So
Right. Doing what I can to divest them of any content without fouling our water supply, then filling them with water. They won't be good for when we start exploring possible avenues out, but they'll be good for having water on hand here at the site.
yeah, you're setting all those things up, and you guys come back, like 3 or 4 hours later. You report your information to each other, and you're set here and have a decent camp. So the question is, how long do you guys want to reprovision? How many fish do you want to catch? How long do you guys want to be at this?
I mean, does any information come back from the pixies in this first day, or anything about any sort of a?
They found a total of 6 points they think are egress points that could do airflow, that they think, from a tactical point of view, that things could come in from, apart from the one you came in from.
Yeah, I guess just picking away, knowing that if we're gonna pick each of those directions, seeing if we can't go maybe a day's travel down each of those, see what we find, or half a day and then half a day back if we find nothing. Planning out to where we get enough food just to hold ourselves over for, like maybe we get 3 days now, and then when that time comes later, and rather than killing off all the food supply right now, we just like do it little by little. So maybe prep for like 3 days now.
Kind of, and then mixing in our own rations with it, because I've got now like 4, or I was carrying 10 days, so I probably got like 7 days.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
So
as you do have rations on your thing, knock off 3 days of it for the time you've been down here thus far. And that's already been supplemented by, you would have been eating that cave fisher, because it's not going to keep any longer.
Sure.
That's being ate as well.
I've ever been in a game before where rations were actually important. So
food mattered.
Well, it was. It's just you handled that when we were on the surface.
It's like no matter where you are.
This is true. Yeah.
It's like, where'd he get the pizza? I don't know. He's in his natural terrain. It's marvelous. So 3 days go by. Then there are no encounters that would be dangerous encounters. It even seems that you're aware, Jacob, that there are snakes in here, but they tend to move out of the way, and they're used to feeding on whatever the smallest kind of creatures.
Yeah.
Beyond that, frogs and fish seem about the biggest thing you can have, and they're still fairly small.
And
guess
that's
too.
why I'm anticipating a long-term stay.
And I think
because if if there were this is too much resources to not be taken advantage of by things that can access it.
Yeah, and then I think for size-wise, it would be also nice to go back the way we got into here and finding more of those cave fissures and killing them, because that's a much more substantial food supply.
And easier to make a container out of.
Yeah, more bang for your buck,
and
so to
we
speak.
probably want to drink being down here this way. So I have a spell that I could have prepared during all this time that's help that I can change stone shape. So I can take stone and command it to make whatever shape I want it to make.
Oh, yeah. So you can just magic at the walls and make a wall.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
So
the first one, your pixies found. So let's say this is day, you're talking about this plan. Are you just going to enact that, like starting with day 2?
Yeah.
All right. So there was one of those openings that both Jacob and one of the pixies found. And if we just call the line of the giant as he's on the ground, we'll call that east-west. His head is toward the east and his feet are toward the west. Then to the south from that point is one of those large opening areas. You guys came from the southwest coming into this area, but due south, there's one of those areas that air is coming up from cracking the floor down below.
So I can take shape a large rock into a weapon, or a coffer. I can make a small passage through a wall, as long as the wall is less than 5 feet thick.
So does it say if you can just like manipulate stone to like block off a thing? Does it?
I can do. You could also shape a stone door or its frame to seal the door shut. And what I create has 2 hinges and a latch, but nothing finer than that.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you go to work. So you're casting it then on this spot to try to seal it off?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4th level spell, so I can only cast it
3 a day.
Yeah.
Or 4 a day with your 5th level slot.
Right, yeah.
So you cast it on this area, and it drastically halts the air coming up through it, but it's not so form shaped with the spell's parameters. But you believe when you are done, even though it could be opened again, that in its closed form and latched, that if there was like some kind of a giant subterranean spider, it could not come up through here any longer.
That's good, because that was really specific.
Yeah, I don't like it's something, I don't know, giant spider maybe.
So the other thing that I'd like to explore is the doorway, the shattered doorway. Like, can we break through that? It went somewhere.
No, the point was it was a magical door.
Yeah,
I
know.
A portal.
But don't you think that there was probably open space on the other side of that?
No, they said that it was a wall at the end. That's part of what's broken.
But you can do your stone shaping thing if you want to move that tourmaline and look through it and see if there was something behind it. I mean,
maybe Boris is wrong. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'd
like to. I'd like to try it, unless anybody objects to me messing with that.
No, I don't think
you're not going to break it more.
Yeah, it's already broken.
No, I just don't. But I don't know what I might attract, whose attention I might attract.
You might find the on button.
Well, again, that there's nothing here is indicator to me that nothing big can access it.
Okay, so I'm going to try that too.
All right, so you're another spell slot with that one. You're down at the bottom of the stairs, and you start moving this tourmaline aside, and you believe you could fix the tourmaline, like reshape, kind of reglazing it, not like restoring its magical qualities, but take the fissures out. But you move a chunk kind of off of where that is, and about 1.5 feet or so thickness through this tourmaline, it is the natural stone of this area. Okay. That you believe that it was a stair cut down to accommodate this portal. Okay. Yeah, that there is nothing behind it but natural stone.
All right, so when it comes to exploration in these next couple of days, how do we want to go about doing that? Because the one idea I have is very similar to some of the other things that we did, actually extremely similar to what we did to get ourselves into this mess in the first place, and that's having the pixies turn us into some sort of a creature that has the ability of, I'm thinking like a lizard or something to that effect, that is small enough to get through cracks, but can then climb along the walls, and we can get into these smaller niches and explore them that way.
The thought with that is we're losing a lot of potential travel time as lizards moving instead of as people moving.
But in order to make it through these gaps and not have to worry about keeping your footing because you just cling to walls versus having to...
Yeah, if you guys want to do that, that's fine with me. You are aware that one of the liabilities of that was communication. That unless you're going by yourselves anyway and just risking being alone. Armor class was another thing you guys talked about before too.
Yeah.
I could also cast spider
if
climb.
you want to do it,
Oh, okay. Spider
I
climb
could
is
cast spider climb
if
on,
the openings
on us, but that I can't do both the stone and the spider climb.
Wasn't there a mixture of fissures and just like tunnel passages that there's some we can just walk through?
That's exactly right. So there was, so call it to the, let me find my own thing here too.
Well, let's try and exhaust those first.
No, and also the pixies can just cast fly on us, can't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I just tried it backwards a moment ago. To the west side, that's actually where the head of the giant is, to the west side. So to the west side, there were 3 of those kinds of opening that all are really in the rock wall at different parts along that side of the cavern. And 2 of them are definitely large enough, for a person in full armor to go into, at least initially along that entrance. The other one's a little smaller.
Yeah.
All right, so I say we pick maybe one a day, and
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of we have like 4 days food apiece. We go 2 days. If we don't find anything that could be like, another staging area or signs of civilization or anything like that, we hike back and then try the next one.
that's a good idea.
I like
So
that too.
that way we're striking with a bit more distance than just kind of,
Have you been
16-ish hours
working
of travel.
on the spider thread stuff?
As much as I can.
Okay.
Because then it would be helpful if we could lay that. So if we are taking turns or passages, we could follow it back again.
It was only, I think, about like 25 feet long.
Oh, what about, could we gather like small stones or something like that?
Yeah, I think we could leave
like
like
a
trail
little
of
Hansel and
breadcrumbs.
Gretel.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that we know we can get back. We don't suddenly turn the wrong way.
If nothing else, I mean, I also have the charcoal from map making supplies. I can just putting marks on the wall so that we
Yeah.
can just
Oh,
go
yeah.
back that way.
Okay, yeah, sure. So,
I think also something we should be investigating, especially you two as nature folk, figuring out what of ferns and mushrooms and mosses and etc. are edible, so that way we're not just purely
These are
subsisting on-
burnable.
which is important because we need
Yeah.
to smoke the fish, but that we're also figuring out what other food supplies we have here.
Yeah.
yeah, so even without making a nature check on that, you'd be able to tell right off, Zelen, that a number of these, they're typical species, that a number of these mosses are edible. And, or you can even be sustaining with various vitamins if it's kind of chewed like it was chewing tobacco or something over periods of time. So, yeah, you could definitely gather that stuff up too. And
Okay,
it's in plenty as well.
So then we have, for at least the time being, a sustainable food supply, especially if you're using like plant growth and stuff to increase, plant output.
Yep.
Here, take this and chew on it. Follow me for more recipes.
So, Jacob, do you have any capacity to actually fish? Or are you going to use some kind of a
Well, I
net
have-
or dip? Or what are you doing?
Potentially, we have someone who can shape stone, so we might be able to get a hook in that way. And we have someone who just found 20 feet of very, very thin, very strong wire that we could fashion into a fishing rod.
line.
So that'd be yes.
Yeah, definitely could.
Get a stick of some description or a spare bow
Actually,
or a javelin.
so-
Might not even need the hook because if the end of it is still sticky, if I can just poke it in, we just like poke the thing in there. That's like a whip. Yeah, just grab the fish and pull it back out. Yeah.
That's pretty good. So you said, Jacob, 3 days you guys are preparing. So let me just roll up some numbers.
I think we changed that to 4 because we were going to take 4 days rations each, and then 2 days out, 2 days back.
Yeah, so you're getting food enough then for 2 days from what's existent in the cave, so that we're taking kind of the rations we brought in and the food of the caves, so that way we're not just exhausting things too quickly.
Okay, good. So then in that time, those 2 days of you've 9 fish on the first day.
Okay.
And another 5 on the second day. And you've also secured a frog and actually 6 snakes.
Nice.
That you're actually thinking that it'd be the messiest thing. It'd be so difficult to mix the bones out of it. Well, I should say, roll your survival.
That's a 21.
You do know it wouldn't last long and it would be nasty tasting, but you could actually invert this thing and then scrape it clean, of all of its inner materials, tie off the bottom, and use them like a water bag.
Mm-hmm.
Again, would not be pleasant.
Yeah.
But it beats the heck out of dying of dehydration.
So you would have about, you have 6 at about 1 liter each.
Okay.
So, for a
good.
break right before you're ready to go. And Zelen, you have enough mosses in this. I'd have to actually look to determine if it is the case, because I don't particularly know if ferns are edible to actually give nutrient, because some things you can eat. You
Alexa,
can eat any plant. Are ferns edible? Somebody looked that up. I don't know that one. But there's enough, plant matter. Okay, so
3 main species of edible ferns.
Yeah, in North America are ostrich fern, lady fern, and bracken fern.
okay, well, it's pictures like a lady fern when I was like imagining it. So then, yes, especially where they sprout up, you can pull those things. So you do have enough rations for this. You fill the water.
I wonder if there's
and
any
then
way we
heading out.
can fill that the water, the new water skins that we're trying to make with moss.
That's
to
what I was
act as
Googling.
kind of a filtration system.
I was Googling the conversion, because the stuff on here, it all holds them in pints, and then you saying it was about 1 liter. Those snakes are about a little over half the size of our water skins. So
Yeah.
they're actually pretty sizable. So that's a good portion. So we essentially have, you said we found six snakes, so we have
6 of
3 additional worth of water skins. We could definitely use them for non-water purposes, just for holding sacks.
Yes, it's just going like a day out and then
2 days out.
2 days out, 2 days back.
Yep.
All right. So are you leaving any of your gear here? Because you've already noted that
I'm not.
Yeah, as much as I don't want to, I think I should, because in full armor, me, a big human, is going to get stuck in passages. So adding armor on top of that, I'll get really stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, but why leave it here? Because
Nothing else.
you'd have to come back for it. I mean, our idea was that we'd go out 2 days. If there's another place to kind of set up, we'd set up and then go out 2 days from there. But then we'd have to come back to get the armor regardless.
Yeah, we'd all have to come back and get the rest of our supplies
You have
anyway.
to provision up back here anyway. You have to get more
No,
water.
we're just
and a lot more
scouting.
fish.
We're not taking all of our stuff.
I'm not pro you not being in your armor. What does that change your fighting ability? How does that?
My fighting ability stays the same. My getting whacked ability changes dramatically.
His stealth increases significantly.
and going through narrow stuff. So, but
My concern is chiefly going through narrow stuff.
yeah, your call, Boris.
Yeah, I'm leaving it at base camp.
Okay, Jacob.
I'm fully armored up.
So
Okay.
have
Bows.
Yeah, I have my bow, because just in case we run into anything, those things are extremely portable as is. So
Okay.
no reason not to be. I don't want to be caught with my pants down.
And Zelen.
I'm taking everything.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, either the two of you
I
are
might
much.
try dragging Boris's armor.
You have. It's the kind of armor you guys are wearing. It's very different than the kind of armor that he's wearing. It's like he has like all of the kitchen.
I know he's
cookware
trying to squeeze.
strapped to his
He's trying
body.
to squeeze
Trying to
through
get
it.
those
in
spaces.
a
pot,
tin
because
can.
Zelen has the pot.
I do
His
have
zone
the
does have
pot.
the pot,
We've
yeah.
been using the pot. I won't bring the pot. I can leave the pot here.
leaving
All right.
behind 4 days rations, armor, shield, javelins,
Okay.
keeping hammer, keeping dagger.
All right. So you travel down. So just pick one of those 3 that are on that side. The the south one, the north one, or the
Southern.
middle one.
Number 3, my lord.
Southern one. Okay, so traveling in that, you guys travel for about half the day. It becomes very narrow, where you're going like mostly sideways, and then you reach a point at about halfway through the day.
Yeah, very narrow.
Each-
So Boris in armor with shield and backpack would get stuck.
Go ahead and make dexterity checks that you can actually get through this passage without getting stuck.
Ah, yes.
12.
Dexterity. 9.
Like so, Boris at a 12, you just get through.
Okay.
Um,
So like kind
Yeah,
of
so I'm
moving my
stuck.
backpack between my knees kind
yeah.
of stuff.
So, and you realize that as it is, the two of you, both Jacob and Zelen, that you would have to set down gear to get through here, or somehow pull it behind yourselves or something. But you can't get through the way that you are.
yeah.
I guess, yeah, if Boris is on the other side there, I'll just take off my pack, pass it through to him, and then go through without that.
Boris rolled again. Well, no, you rolled it, so that's fine. So you have to come back through, because it isn't just like it's one narrow spot. It's a length of narrow where you guys are really worming through a spot. It gets that narrow for a while.
Yeah, I'd much rather kind of be ready in case any, like a cave fisher or anything came out at us as we're crawling through than...
So you guys would be better off then backing back, to where before it got narrow, and then either tying your gear off to your legs or something,
Or like pushing it in
hooking
front
behind
of you.
or pushing it out in front of you.
Okay, I'll go back and do that, because I don't exactly have it laid out on my sheet what's in what bag. So I don't want to grab one thing versus another and risk going, oh, well, I'd love to throw my dagger, but apparently my dagger was in my sock.
Okay, you're also noting that your bow is a problem. As narrow as it is, it's such an ungainly long thing when it comes to navigating around these things. Do you do anything different with that?
Trying to think how else could I affix bow to myself.
Magic may Iverquay.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the bow's a problem, is the quiver not also a problem?
Well,
but also, I wasn't picturing myself as being armed. I wasn't like walking, like I was using my hands in order to climb. My quiver my bow would have to be somewhere else.
Okay, well, you didn't specifically say, so I just assumed you had it out. So you
I
could
am
grab
not trying to climb
ready.
with my bow as my walking stick. No,
Okay.
Everything is put away.
All right, well, that makes it a little bit easier when it comes to putting stuff through. So you are able to, you just go ahead and re-roll.
Okay.
Don't you have a magic quiver that you can stash a whole bow in?
He just said he's
okay,
using
okay.
it, yeah.
Yeah, it's much better. 19.
Yeah, so then you're able to pass right through there.
Did me no favors that I rolled a 4 the first time.
Zelen?
I'm just
going
going
to
to transform into something that I can crawl through these narrow places.
Okay, what are you transforming it to?
I don't know because
deer.
I haven't been able to figure that out, how to do that. How
Do
to
a
pick
spider
that.
and really freak
wild
them all
shape.
out.
Yeah, I know it's wild shape, but I can't figure out
You've done
how
a
to
spider
figure
before.
out. What I intend to do is transform myself into something. So I'm trying to pick the size.
Okay.
Can you tell me if I need to be something tiny, small, or medium? Like, what are my choices?
Medium would probably be enough.
Well,
just
you
to
are-
kind of-
you are
You are
medium.
medium, but
I
like
am
on the
medium.
smaller
So something
size of
small.
medium.
Yeah, but so
Okay.
is a dwarf.
So I'm going to turn myself into a giant rat, and I'm going to have all my stuff transform with me.
To meld
So
with
like
you.
fuse into your own form.
Yeah. All right, yeah, not a problem. So you...
And then what I'm just going to stay transformed that way. And once I'm through this narrow spot, I'm just going to run up and sit on Boris's shoulder.
Okay, giant rat equals small dog.
Yeah, you're kind of a big dude. Can't you carry me?
He's not carrying you're not carrying your armor. You have all this extra muscle power that's...
Sure, yeah, but the whole point of not carrying the armor wasn't it's heavy. It gets stuck.
All right, I'll walk on my own. Fine.
All right, so you get through that in the narrows, and I think you guys have done this enough that you're not startled that there's now a rat walking with you. That it's Zelen. And you proceed the rest of the day.
Yeah, you haven't lost any movement speed, so, use your own pause. I was about to go, it's like, oh, you have 20 feet movement speed, yeah, I'll carry you.
Jacob, are we assuming that in your pack of gear you brought some of those dried out shelf lichens to burn, or is this just most definitely a cold camp?
I would say we brought pre-prepared rations. I wouldn't have brought anything for a fire because we already grabbed the
We keep
prepared
cold
food.
camp,
Yeah.
Okay, so you find a spot just along this
It's
trek.
like charcoal for marking.
You camp for the night.
Yeah.
Jacob, you probably wake up, when it's your watch, and you're like, it's probably been 5 or 6 hours, guys. Let's just go again. So not your best night's sleep. You're all very uncomfortable. The rat seems to have slept fairly well.
Well, the rat only stayed a rat for a couple hours.
And then you proceed through the next day. And after about 8 hours of traveling, you see it narrowing down to where it looks like it gets narrower and narrower. Everyone go around and make those same dexterity checks. Zelen, you don't need to if you're in rat form right now.
Yeah.
What'd you get, Jacob?
24.
Okay. And Boris?
14, I'm improving.
Okay, so so you're all able to go into this, and who's up front, by the way?
Probably me, because I can see the
sight.
furthest.
Yeah, that you realize, you're thinking, you know what? You call back Jacob. I think we can go further in this, but I'm not sure if it's actually widening out. I think it might just continue to get narrower. I could
this
back
is kind of
out.
tweaking on my claustrophobia, and
Yeah.
I'm just in a room.
Yeah, so it is definitely a case of where you guys, you probably to make it easier on yourself, you're probably at this point lying on your backs. The stone ceiling is just about an inch above your head.
Very aware of a mountain resting above us.
And they're pushing forward. You could push forward, Boris, and try to get to a place if it opens up wide again. Do you want to go to see if it gets even narrower?
No, we're already trying to maneuver.
Because it's been about 8 hours. It's been about a whole day's travel from where you made your camp overnight.
And we can't see it opening up anywhere nearby. We'd just be shimmying for a while. Cocoa Puffs.
That when, as far as you can see, Boris, probably only about like another 40 feet ahead of you, and then just the way that the rock moves and the passage turns, that you can't see past that. It looks like it stays about as narrow as it is, but you can't tell that it opens
Doesn't
up
look
anywhere.
like it's changing.
All right, this one's a lost cause.
All right, I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna start tap dancing on his head to signal I want to go that way.
Right. And you feel like it's the worst kind of claustrophobic when you're trying to back out of a place and can't turn yourself around. So you're aware that like you probably have scraping your chin, your cheekbone, your head, your nose on the
My
stone
glorious pecs.
as you're trying to
If you're wearing your armor,
look past.
If I was wearing my armor, we'd go thump.
You hear every wedge, looking past your own body to see back out. But eventually, you're able to get to the point where you can stick your butt up in the air, turn around, and crawl back out. The toe widens back out again. And looking back down into where you were, it's impressive you guys even tried to get through there. And then heading back. So using the rest of your rations on the way back, you probably camp right there. Mm-hmm. And then 9 hours, no encounter, camp, and 9 again. So roll dexes to get through the narrow spot.
13. 20 for a split second. 13.
I have rolled 3 on every dice I picked up.
Well, are
you
you
still doing
turning
the
into a
rat
rat?
Yeah, I can still be a rat.
You can do that twice a day. So.
Yeah.
So you guys make it. The rat goes through. You knew the spot, and you were able to shimmy
through,
and you get back out. So, and then at the end of that next day, you're back to your base camp. So this process goes on. You spend a few days gathering food, harvesting food, nurturing the ground to make sure you're not just
making a farm out of
blindly
the place.
clear cutting it. Yeah. Working to see, not taking it all from the same spot and killing everything else, but harvesting from different areas. The fish do seem to be fairly replete, and then you go out for 4 days out and back. You do this 4 more times.
Ugh.
And when you finally come back on that last one, it's feeling pretty terrible. And it actually starts to feel like you might never get yourselves out of this place.
Thanks for listening. Help the podcast grow by getting a friend to become a listener. Like and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Empire's Edge. Find extra info at mattsinkovich.com and theempiresedge.com. You can also support us by becoming a subscriber at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.